All right, welcome to Unit 2. We are starting day 1 of this. It is working with, the targets will be to determine a domain and range from a function, and by looking at a graph, and you also will be looking at the increasing or decreasing or constant parts of a graph. So to start off with, the domain are all the x values that a function or graph can have. Okay, the domain are the x values, also known as your input. The range values are your outputs. So recall the definition of range are all the y values that a function All right, and we're going to start introducing you to what's called as interval notation. Whenever you use a negative infinity or a positive infinity, you are always going to use like a parenthesis around like the side of that, so whatever side it is going to be. So if something is all real numbers, we would say from negative infinity to positive infinity to mean everything. You use a bracket when you have an exact value, and since like 2 or 1.5, whatever it is, since infinity is not an exact value, we just do parentheses just to mean it keeps going on, so we don't know the exact number. So I drew the graph here of x squared minus 4. Of course, it's a parabola. It's down 4 because of the minus 4. We look at this, and we say, okay, what are all the x values and y values? Now, you kind of also have to think, this graph keeps continuing to go to the left, and it keeps continuing to go to the right. So it keeps going out on the left and out on the right. So on the left, all the values here are negative infinity, because I can keep going as much as I want, and the x values on the right are positive infinity. So the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. Now the range is how high, that's my x, my range is my y, how high and how low it goes. So we can see on the parabola, it hits a low spot here of negative 4. But in terms of the graph going up, it goes up, 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 and it keeps going until we don't know, so it goes up to infinity. So when I write the notation, I always put the small on the left, so negative 4. I put the bigger number on the right. Anytime we use interval notation, or sorry, infinities, we put a parenthesis around it. If I have an exact value like negative 4, I do a bracket. Okay. So this would be a good time to stop and pause it and try number 2. Remember, the x values are the side to side. That's the domain. And the ranges are the lows to the highs. So pause it and try to write it with notation. The small side of the x's, it just goes over to negative 3. The large side is positive 3. The range starts at a down low of 0 and goes up to 2. So 0 is the exact number. So I have brackets and brackets. Again, pause it, try example 3. If it helps to mark off the graph and say how far to the left, how far to the right, how far up, how far down. That way you know domains are your right and left, your ranges are top or bottom to top. So anything can go in here. And it goes down, and